So I want to get started. I want to try and leave as much time for questions. I feel like everybody has a different business, is in a different place in their business, so I feel like there's very little I could talk to that's going to work for everybody in the room. So I want to try and get to the question time and let you guys kind of open the floor up to me or to each other. So I'm Brad McCleary. I'm with Body's Race Company. First, I like to start with my why. So this is my beautiful family. It's the best part of what I do. My beautiful wife, Jen, our oldest son, Shelby, my second daughter, Lily, and then Molly and Mackenzie. If you come to any of our races, you will see most of them, if not all of them, working in some part. You can never have enough help as a race director. So there's been many long trips, early mornings. They know how to work every volunteer spot, so if you come and volunteer for me and do it wrong, you might be getting yelled at by a 6-year-old. They know what they're doing.
That's awesome.
And I'll tell you a little bit about our story to kind of give you some context of why I'm talking. So we started as a gym, my wife and I, a husband and wife personal training team. We did our first race in 2011. We were taking a bunch of clients to races, and then somebody just haphazardly said, why don't you put on your own race? And then, we were taking, at that time, 40 and 50 people to races to get them focused on something besides just scale weight, to give them little tangible goals to work towards. So it really made sense, and we focused only on, well, if this doesn't cost us money, this is a great way to advertise our gym. So, we did it up right, nice shirts, finisher medals for a 5K. Chris Cakes came out, which does pancakes where I live. We did everything you should right in terms of value add for the participant. It was so well received by the community that the next year our one Halloween event turned into 3 events, and our holiday series was born. We had Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And we call it the Healthy Holiday Fun Run Series. Those are those winter weight gain months. We're a gym, our mission is getting you healthy and active. So in 2011, Body's Race Company was kind of born. Today, fast forward, we're doing about 25 of our own produced events. We're still mostly known for our holiday series. We've got about 10 now that we do, 13 that we support, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. We also work with about 50 other races when we do race management. I say timing, course setup, marketing. And we never intended to do that. That has never been our main focus, but I'm sure all of you know, you have your own events, you have timing equipment, whatever it is, you're going to start getting those calls. Hey, can you help us with an event? But my point with this, be very careful, depending on what you do, what your objective is. Ours has always been event production. We don't take any events that conflict with our own unless they're just way out of our market. We also don't work with any big races, and when I say that, I don't mean that those are bad or that I wouldn't want that paycheck, but for us it never makes sense. It takes too much time and energy away from what our core focus is. We've also franchised our race company, so now we have 3 additional locations, a couple in Texas, 1 in St. Louis. So we've had to get really good at what we do in terms of, I'm not saying we're good, I'm saying really good at managing what we do. And then finally, we've even brought in screen printing in-house, and we source our metals, our bibs, everything direct to manufacturers. So we've gotten incredibly efficient to make sure that this all still works as this industry gets so competitive. And then finally, I want to talk about our mission. So our mission has always been simply fun, family, fitness. We're still that gym mentality. We want everybody being healthy and active all year long. So our aim is to get the whole family out all throughout the year. So that to say, we're not looking to have one single big event, although that'd be a lot easier on my family. We're trying to keep you healthy and active all throughout the year. We're also not looking at adding marathons or extreme obstacle races because it just doesn't fit the family part of the mission. So my first takeaway for you guys is know your why. So that really helps set the direction of our race company, but also any tough decisions when it comes to, well, should we add a marathon because we can make a little bit more money, or should we take over this mutter because it could make us more money, or should we take this timing job? If it doesn't fit our mission, we don't do it. So now that you know about me, my family, let's talk about why you guys are here. Off the subject of what this topic is, I would assume you're here because you're looking to either create a series or grow a series. There might be a third option, maybe you're just in the wrong room and you're starting to realize now. That's fine. Let's talk about the benefits of having a race series. Number 1, obviously increase your revenue. You can either get more participants to your event, or you can just get more participants overall for the year. More importantly, you should be able to increase your profits by decreasing a lot of your costs. And I'm talking stuff like, I've got 3 races now, but only 1 race flyer. So we should be able to spread our expenses over multiple events. We also increase our buying power. Whenever I talk to any of my vendors, I always, throw in that, well, I manage 25 events, so if you want my business, I've got lots of business for you. How well can you do for me? We also invest in equipment that we would have never before. We used to outsource everything when we first started, and we also rented a bunch of stuff. Now we buy just about everything, and like I said, we've even brought several things for the supply chain in-house because it makes a lot of sense. This is a big opportunity to separate yourself from your competitors. Everybody now, like has been talked about all day, is looking for an experience. So they don't want to just sign up for another road race, because what's yours different from any other, of the 25 that weekend that they can do. This gives them that challenge. It also allows you to be more aggressive with your pricing, whether it's discounts or promotions or whatever you want to do. This is also the best marketing. So we've never been, and I won't say this because my marketing manager is right here, we've never been truly like a marketing company. What we've done is we've used our events that we have. We've marketed to the runners we've already had, and we just keep rolling with more events, and they love it. So the best way, in my opinion, to market an event is to have another event, tell them about it. If you do a good job, they'll come back. And then finally, you guys get to diversify your revenue, which is something I encourage you to do. Even if you don't do a series, whether you're a timer or you're selling apparel or something, it's always good to diversify your revenue. If you're just counting on one big event a year, you've probably already seen the industry's kind of, ebbs and flows. But I've seen too many great races that just had bad weather, or a national run came in and plopped down on their date. Registration was just devastated. And if you can't withstand that one bad year, then you're jeopardizing your whole company. So let's talk about how to create a race series. Number one, and this has been talked about all day, so this is the benefit of going last. There's nothing new on my slides. You've got to have a great event experience. Our industry is so competitive. If you don't do a good job, you can forget about adding multiple events. It'll just be a matter of time before you're closing your event. And especially with a series, one bad experience can hurt everything, because people are going to look at it as a whole. So there's no, well, they did bad that job, but they did good this job. I mean, they're going to look at your series as a whole one event. Competition sucks, but it's really good. It makes us all better. I feel like in our market especially, we've been driven to do all kinds of stuff that maybe is above industry standard, but in the end, it's made us tougher, we're better for it, and our participants have great value. And so as long as you take care of your participants and continually try to figure out how to add value to your event, you guys are going to be fun. Second, you've got to have multiple events to create a series. You can't do it with one race. But that doesn't mean that you guys have to add more events yourself. One thing I'd actually suggest, if you only have one event you're looking to grow to a series, is to partner with other established races. So find some big established races in your market and figure out how to partner with them. Then you're leveraging each other's databases, and you're also only still focused on one event and marketing a series. They're taking care of their event, everybody's still working on one to maybe two events. The cons, I think, are important to note here. You don't have control over the whole experience. So what I said about be careful, one bad experience could hurt the whole series. Remember, you're only controlling your event, so you've got to pick good partners. Also, there's issues sometimes with, what are we doing for a special incentive? What's our discount pricing? What's our big reason for people to sign up now? You have to agree on all that. When it's just mine, it's whatever I want to do. And then there's always conflicts with charities, or even down to missions or the direction you want to go. So, quick suggestion, if you guys ever do partner up with anybody else, I would always keep it on a temporary basis. Do it whether it's a contract or just an agreement. Do it on a temporary basis. We're going to do this for 2 years or 3 years. That way you guys have an out. Obviously you can use your own events, which is great. The big con here to note is you are the only one marketing. So if you're adding 3 new races to the market and you've had no participant database, good luck, because now you're the one marketing all those events plus the series. So you better have a team in place and your act together. Another thing you guys need with creating a series is a theme or a reason. So more importantly than just, I have 2 events, I have a 4th of July 4-miler and a Thanksgiving Day 5K, and I want to sell them together because that makes sense for me. That doesn't make any sense for the participant. So some things I've seen successful even just in our market, obviously the same distance is always fun. I've seen some 4 races come together, 4 4-milers and make a Sweet 16. I've seen a progress series that went all the way from a mile to a half marathon. That was really neat. There's all kinds of seasonal stuff. So those summer months that are hard to get people to sign up for because it's so weather dependent, and those treacherous like winter months that are so cold. A summer series, a winter series, a frostbite series. And then obviously specialty races, so whether it's mud or wine, a wine series I think would be a great idea to go down to different wineries. The most important thing when it comes to your theme or your reason, it has to be easy to explain. Marketing now, people are so inundated. You've got their attention span for such a small amount of time. If you can't explain this in an elevator speech, and I know you're not talking to everybody, it's on Facebook and stuff, it's got to be easy to explain even if it's on a web page. So what is the series? Why am I signing up? What's my incentive? And when it comes to an additional incentive, don't just think your idea is just so amazing everybody's going to do it. You're probably still going to need to do whether it's a discount, an extra medal, a cool shirt. So whether you build the price in and you charge a little bit more and then you discount it, or you put all these races together and you discount it, be prepared to still have to add something additional. But this is where most race directors hear this and they think, oh, just another expense item. I would consider this an investment. So no, whenever you spend $4 on a medal and you divide it over 4 races, that's $1 a race. I mean, it does not take that many participants to break even. So have that value add mentality versus that just another expense line mentality. Finally, this seems like a no-brainer. Always do a competitive analysis. I don't know how many races I've talked to, and I'm sure you guys as timers have talked to races too, that just pick a date based on whatever works, based on their fundraising or their kid's schedule. And then it happens to be the Kansas City Half Marathon. You're like, well, good news is there's no other races, but you're against the biggest race that is going to happen this weekend. So do a competitive analysis, and if you're adding events to the market, do your due diligence. Don't compete against other major competitors that produce events, competitors that have been established for years. Try and pick dates that not only, one, provide an opportunity for people to be able to do it, but two, don't compete. And then finally, grow at a pace you're comfortable with. So if you've got the greatest idea to add a 6-race series throughout the year, every 2 months or something, don't hesitate to start with 2 races or 3 races and grow at a pace you're comfortable with. Remember everything that goes into putting in a race. The course, which we find with the 10 events we have in our holiday series change, at least probably half of them change every single year. We have to do something with the course. The websites, the logos, the branding, the registration. And once you do it and you put it out there, you've got to maintain all this. So grow at a pace you're comfortable with and a pace that your team can manage. So now let's talk about growing your race series. The number one thing I would say to anybody is add more value. So whatever you're doing now, how can you do even better? And that doesn't mean just spend more money and give away more stuff. Heaven forbid. I don't want to compete if you're still just giving away stuff. What I want you to do is try and make the stuff you're already doing better. Try and get your race partners to add more value. Try and get your sponsors to bring more value to the table. Some ideas, obviously, are better swag, fancier medals, series rewards, adding pacers to the course, live music on the course, have all your volunteers dress up in a costume that matches your theme. Whatever you do, try and find a way to add value. Your after party is a big opportunity here. So whether it's kids' activities or beer after the race, find ways to add value after the race. Because remember, you've got a series, so even if it's an investment, this first race isn't as big, the next race has the opportunity to be even bigger, next year even bigger. And then obviously the discounts and the giveaways. What can you do? So some quick examples. We've done with our races, when we were 6 races, we did a puzzle piece, all 6 medals pieced together. So everybody wanted to be a part of that. A quick note on that, a series incentive can become demotivating if somebody misses out. So if I miss out on a puzzle piece, now I'm not as interested in doing the rest of them. We've just done a huge medal. You do all 6, you get a 6-inch medal at the end. We've broken our series up. Overall, they had to sign up for the whole series, but each 3 races, they got another little medal. So there's all kinds of things you can do. The most important thing with this is just make sure that they're what we call marketables. So at the end of the day, if you can't market it and get anybody to sign up because of it, then don't spend money on it. So the worst thing you could do is buy an extra medal or provide an extra shirt and haven't told anybody and nobody signed up because of it. Then it truly is just an expense item. Also, improve your brand. A lot of people don't even think about this, but against my competitors, I see so many people that are almost time-stamped into the time that they started their race company, and nothing's improved. The logos are still the same, the brand's still iffy at best. When's the last time you guys went through your own website as a participant, instead of just getting frustrated at the questions that come in, because they're not reading the website, but went through your website and seen how easy it is to use from that user experience? Your registration, hopefully everybody's using RunSignUp because that's incredibly simple and fast to sign up. to sign up their kids. All those things need to be easy if you want to have successful conversions. Finally, like a professional photographer, how many people here have a professional photographer and they only use those professional photos for next year's marketing? If you're just using the person taking the iPhone pictures and thinking that was a great picture, I'll throw that up, that is not the best way to brand your company, your image. Another suggestion, so as you all know, our industry, overall finishers are on the decline. Whether we're actually declining as a race industry may be argumented, but overall finishers has been declining. So I can tell you for a fact there are lots of races out there that are struggling and possibly closing, some that have been around for decades. So talk to them, maybe you work with some of them, find out how much they're actually giving to charity at the end of the day, and maybe there's an opportunity to come in there and partner and take over the race with all your resources, talents, and abilities. You might be able to figure out how to grow the event, and then obviously you don't have the expenses that they have, so it should be almost instantly more profitable. We've taken over a couple of events, and everybody's benefited. We let them sell the sponsorship part, we keep the registrations, we provide them a piece of the registration. They make more money, they never have a cost, so even if the event still doesn't grow, there's no bill at the end of the day. There's been some times where I'm going to invoice somebody and I have no idea how they're going to pay it because I know how much they pulled in. My last suggestion, before we open up this conversation, is if you've done everything and you do it well, then consider opening a new market. And this doesn't even have to be another city, but we found in Kansas City there's basically 3 markets. There's the Missouri side, we're on the state line, there's the Missouri side, the Kansas side, and then north of there's a river. Almost every city has these imaginary boundaries. I'm sure you guys are well aware of the tracks. So even if you're not going to a different city, which is always an option, consider opening a new market and doing the same race that you're already doing. So the same finish line banners, the same flags, the same tents. Spend no more on the operational supplies, but open up another race and serve a new market that maybe isn't getting reached. Really easy if you pull reports from RunSignUp, find out where all your runners are coming from, and then you can just duplicate another race. Obviously you can go to a new city, that's always an option as well. And so I apologize for flying through this, but my 5 things before we open it up. Number 1, and most importantly to me, is you have to know why you do what you do, because that's what sets the whole direction, answers all the questions. Number 2, I would advise any business, not just our industry, to always diversify your income. If you're not diversifying your income, you're just one catastrophe, or one just even low away from having a huge problem. Number 3, if you don't have a great event experience, forget about it. This is all assuming you guys do a good job. If you don't, it doesn't even matter what I say. 4, always be adding value. So no matter how many participants you are up, how great your series is doing, no matter how great your one event is doing, figure out how you can do better the next year. Always be challenging yourself to add. And if you guys have a huge miss, it just was not a popular item that you came out with, as long as you're pushing the trend, you're going to be known for that, and that's a good thing as well. And then number 5, not because we franchise, has nothing to do with me, but one of the best pieces of business advice I ever got was act like you're franchising. If you can't replicate whatever you're doing, so everything you do, document your processes, don't be people reliant. Think about if you had to do it in another city far away, what needs to be done. And then if you can't do that, then you've already got an issue. So those are my 5 takeaways. I'd love to open it up and see where you guys are. Who in here has a series already? About half? Okay. And how many races? Who has like 3 or less? Okay. And then who has 4, 5 or more? Okay. Awesome. So what questions do you guys have?
Got one over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. You put your race results up through RunSignUp, correct?
Right.
Okay. Do you have anywhere there's a score, like the total time?
Like the series scoring?
Yes.
We don't do series scoring because, again, it comes back to my mission. I'm not looking to get a lot more competitive runners. I don't see it as a huge market.
Okay.
It's an element we've talked about adding because I think it'd be another neat thing. But I feel like it starts to pull away from my mission. If I start getting a lot of fast runners, is that starting to impact my kids' dash and my stroller pushers? And a lot of our courses are, out and backs. Does that devalue the value for everybody else?
Okay, so you said you thought about that. You know if RunSignUp has that capability of...
They do, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can add that time to 3 races to get...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But one of the things I found when you're doing a series and you try to appeal to that competitive athlete is that when you've got course changes, which is, as you say, they happen all the time, those are the first guys that jump on you. Because, you know, they're looking at this second, that second, your start line move, etc., and they become a big problem.
They just offer no grace.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I mean, they're there to do what they're doing, but we want everybody having a good time, being encouraging, and they offer very little grace when they're competing at an elite level. Go ahead.
What about growing your race series, like physically, geographically, not necessarily size-wise because of that? We put on a race series and there's another race series in town. The other race series director's better looking than us. They both great series, so both of us are competing for the same number of people in a smaller area. And we've thought about expanding and not just be in our one city, but actually reduce the number in our city, but expand to a larger area. But what we don't want to do is lose our participants locally and make them travel and actually 20, 30, getting experience with that.
I have. So when we do a series, what I call a series is you have to sign up for all races, right? There's lots of different ways to call a series. There's some people that you have to do 5 of the 8 events or something. So if you have some grace like that, I think expanding is fine. We have one race that's about 30 minutes outside of, roughly 30 minutes outside of our kind of core area. It's in Grain Valley to Kansas City, which is about 30 minutes. We included it in the series because we couldn't get it to grow. So that's one option to grow your series, but I would never do that if I already had an established series. We added it while we were kind of building. And now people love the little travel. It's, you know, Memorial Day, it's kind of a lower time, so yes, you could. I would duplicate the races and add a new series and try and serve a different market. Because people, we found in Kansas City, travel no more than 20 miles to a race.
Right, and we've seen similar things. There's a couple of cities, right, all connected together and people don't tend to cross lines too much, but we would rather not create a new series. We're kind of capped out in terms of number of.
Well, so I wouldn't create a new one, I would duplicate. So like, you know, there's east-west, do one or the other.
Right.
So now it's hitting somebody closer to home, but then they can still be part of the other couple of races or something like that. Consider getting creative with it. Go ahead.
So how do you handle the quality control aspect? So if you're running your
Like a
races,
circus.
what?
Like a circus?
So I have 200 that all run within 8 weeks time frame. So that's one of the things that I constantly am like working to learn to find how other people handle it. So how do you do that with having these? I just looked you up on the website.
Yeah.
With you physically running yours and then having these other ones that are representing your brand.
So like the franchisees,
Mm-hmm.
so there's all kinds of requirements they have to make. The best way to control, so you've seen, maybe you've kind of picked up, I'm kind of a little bit of a control freak. I want to be able to print shirts myself because if I'm responsible for it, I want to be in control of it. So we do all the designs, we actually manage their website.
That's what we do too.
Yeah, we support them, but they find the location. You know,
So do you ever go to their races?
Oh
They
yeah,
have
the
it and
first
watch it?
several, like
Okay.
we have somebody from our team go out for the first 2 to 3, whatever we can kind of make work with our schedules. And we call it supporting them. It's not so much controlling them. They want to follow like a business in a box. So
That's what we do because we feel like it's supportive.
yeah,
We want them to feel that they're a part of our family, and that's, you know, why we go.
Yeah, so we try and go up to 3, but we do want them running on their own because we all happen. Our holidays are, you know, within a 2-week window. It's not like you can put them whenever.
Yeah.
So we're pretty busy in those 2 weeks. What was that?
No, do you, like, with your friend, do you give them a playbook, like?
Oh, yes. Yep. They have the do's, the don'ts. Yeah, so they pretty much know it all. But you hope that what you're giving them, they actually are using as their guide to help them make that experience happen and be wonderful for them as well as the participants and the families. So, and you want to, I'd love to be at every single one to be able to give them feedback, you know, whether it be positive or something that's negative, and teach them how to, you know, maybe do it a little bit better. So.
And there's lots of you know, qualifiers you can put on. I mean, you can tell if an event, if something happened with just social media.
Oh yeah, each
emails.
one of our events has a social media page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell. I mean, there's ways to kind of
Yeah.
hold them accountable.
Interesting. I just like hearing how other people do it.
Yeah. definitely.
Any lessons learned from your franchising experience, or franchising experience, and positive, negatives, things that you would do differently if you were to do it again?
Oh, for sure. And then what's funny is everything in hindsight, right? So I heard when we were franchising, control everything you can. And I was like, no, we want to be, like, we want them doing everything on their own. With this idea of, run local. Like, we want them attached to their community and kind of making all the calls and decisions. That was a terrible mistake. Like, you want to control as much as you can because it's your brand and you know it works. So, like, you get a bunch of people that just, well, this would be a cool idea. We're never short of, like, ideas. We're short of people to do the work.
Sure.
Right? So, like, we'll kind of roll out the idea and then we'll put all the research and, the development of the design, the brand, the image into it. And then I want you to follow these steps because that's what will work.
Right.
So, control everything that you can. And whether that's, you're managing another location, a race director, a timer, control everything you can. And it also sets them up for success because people want to know what's expected. They want to know how to do well, how to, check off the box and know that they did a good job. So, control as much as you can, document everything.
Right.
Is y'all's a real franchise, or is it a licensing agreement?
It's a franchise.
It's a franchise.
And we made that decision because of the control aspect. So with the licensing, there were just, like, we didn't want to, have to fight to protect a brand and then license a brand to somebody and then have no control over, well, they're just going to call it the Halloween whatever instead of what we call it.
Okay, and I have not been on your website, so, and maybe I missed it. What are the distances or the categories that you have? You mentioned the stroller roll. Are they 5Ks, 10Ks? You said you don't get into the marathon. And
We don't
are
do a
they
full
just
marathon, we do a half marathon. So all of our events, all of our 5K, 10K, or all of our races are 5K, 10K.
Okay.
And then we do a couple of half marathons a year. Because of the fitness part of our mission, we feel like it's important to be able to build up to a half marathon.
But is that part of your holiday series? Like you mentioned the Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas is your healthy holiday.
Uh-huh.
So is that just one of the series that you have? You've got other
So we
ones?
support 13 holidays, and they can kind of pick based on their competitive analysis. So if they have a huge Thanksgiving Day market, a huge St. Patty's Day race, and they don't want to pick those two races, then they can pick out of the other, 11 events.
Got it.
Yep. And then they can kind of work up to where their market, isn't overly saturated.
Okay.
And then we encourage them to build up to a half marathon with one of those events, and they're free to do, a 4 mile instead of a 5K, or a 10K and a 10 mile or something. We encourage them to build up to a half marathon because again, that fitness we want to provide them the ability to grow with the company versus, we have those good runners that, turn into ultra runners and they have to leave us because they're not doing a 5K on any weekend. But yeah, it stops at half marathon.
So what's the biggest race you do participant-wise? How many people?
That we put on.
Yeah.
We've had a 1,600 5K, 10K, which is just, it's great for the revenue. It's a nightmare to manage.
And what about your franchisee people? I mean, what kind of numbers are they seeing?
So we just franchised in the last year, in 2017. So the biggest one I think we've had so far is 400. But every race that they do is brand new. So they're rolling out a lot quicker than we ever did. So I think they're seeing, when you add 8 events to the market, you're not focused on marketing one and getting it to its full potential. So they're growing, I think, more what we call kind of organically. Runners are telling other runners to come. So each event seems to be growing a little bit, which is neat, but they haven't put all their effort behind one event versus a whole series. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So what was the decision behind, and maybe I missed it in your presentation, of franchising versus doing it yourself and expanding the growth?
A great question. So we knew we couldn't do it with just our team and do a great job like we did here. We'd already seen that with other race companies that have done other cities themselves. Not only are you just kind of wearing down your team, but you just don't have the community connections. I care very much about making a local impact. So they find local charities. They're making the call in terms of what charities, what sponsors, what locations, how to speak to their runners, whether it's a 5K, 10K. We found in Texas, a longer distance race is you know, more popular. So like their 10Ks are just as big as their 5Ks, whereas up here, you know, our 5Ks are about 4 times bigger than our, in Kansas City up here, are about 4 times bigger. So we needed that local community contact. So it was more out of, we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I think that's it. If there's no more questions, if there is any more questions, you can talk to me afterwards. But otherwise, thanks for listening, guys.